Rah! You're just jealous because I'm a genuine freak and you have to wear a mask. Hey everyone, it's Movie Lover 120 here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for the second film in the original series of this franchise I am reviewing. And that was for a movie none other to be released in 1992. And it's a sequel to a popular movie released in 1989. And it was the movie which was the movie I reviewed yesterday. And that movie is going to be for the second installment of the original series and the second and final Tim Burton adaptation of this character, and that is the second feature-length, fully released adaptation of Batman, and that is Batman Returns, the most controversial Batman movie and one of the most controversial comic book movies to date. And we're going to see why it's controversial, why it was very controversial when it released. Well, anyway, before I get into that, let's explain the plot of this movie. Well, sometime after the events of the first film, Bruce Wayne / Batman finds out about a criminal named Oswald Cobblepot, or known by many people as the Penguin, played by Danny DeVito, due to his short stature. Bruce also meets up with a woman named Selina Kyle, better known as most residents of Gotham City as Catwoman, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, due to her outfit. Yeah. Not only was this the first live-action film to feature Penguin and Catwoman, this also featured a brand new villain that isn't in the comics, who was named Max Schreck, who was played by Christopher Walken in this movie. But first, before I get into details, how was this movie made? Well, after the success of Batman in 1989, Warner Brothers planned for a sequel to start filming in May 1990 at Pinewood Studios. Sets from the previous films were stored at a cost of $250,000. Tim Burton originally did not want to direct another film of the franchise. He said, "I will return if the sequel offers something new and exciting." He said in 1989, "Otherwise, it's a most dumbfounded idea." Burton decided to direct Edward Scissorhands for 20th Century Fox. Sam Hamm delivered the first two drafts of the script, while Bob Kane was brought back as a creative consultant. Bill Finger, co-creator of Batman, The Penguin, and Catwoman, was uncredited at the time of the film's release, and his name was not added to any Batman-related media until 2016. Hamm's script had the Penguin and Catwoman going after hidden treasure. Glad they didn't go for that idea. That would have been way too corny. Burton was impressed with Daniel Waters' work on Heathers, and Burton originally bought Waters aboard on a sequel to Beetlejuice. Burton then negotiated with Warner Brothers for the films from producers John Peters and Peter Guber to become executive producers, joining Benjamin Flinker and Michael E. Uslan. Denise D. Novi and Burton became the film's top billed producers, with Larry Franco replacing Chris Kenny as their line producer. Dissatisfied with the Hamm script, Burton commissioned a rewrite from Waters. Waters came up with a social satire that had an evil mogul backing a bid for the mayor's office by the Penguin. Waters reported, "I wanted to show that the true villains of our world don't necessarily wear costumes." The subplot of the Penguin running for mayor actually came from the 1960 TV series episodes, His Honor the Penguin, and His Owner the Penguin. Waters wrote a total of 5 drafts. So yeah. Basically, they even allowed Tim Burton to have creative control over this movie, so first one was more of a studio-directed movie. This is a 100% Tim Burton movie. And it was eventually released on June 19th, 1992, and it grossed $266 million worldwide on a total of $80 million budget, and received positive reviews. While critics praised its action sequences, performances, Danny Elfman's score, effects, and villains, its PG-13 rating was criticized, and that's because this movie is actually the most violent Batman movie to date. The criticisms were even so controversial that McDonald's had to cancel their Happy Meal lineup of the toys based on the film, all because of that. So, when it comes to me personally, I remember when me and my parents rented this from the video store near one of our older houses back when I was getting introduced to Batman as a child. And most of the movie I was getting through just fine, and I wasn't even scared by this movie at all. That was until one certain scene, which didn't even freak me out, which was the whole infamous, could be worse, my nose could be gushing blood. And he proceeds to bite the guy's nose, and after that, my parents quickly shut the movie. I was like, yeah, no, you're not watching this. This movie's not appropriate for you. And we have to take it back to the video store the next day. That really sucked because I was liking this movie so much. But I also realized that Batman was not a children's character. That's what I learned that day. After I was finally allowed to rewatch it as I got older, this movie used to be my fourth favorite of the films, but now it's my third favorite Batman movie ever. And you're about to find out why. Anyways, here are the good qualities of the sequel. The good qualities are that Michael Keaton returns as a title character Batman, and he is more powerful than he was in the first movie, and he gives an even better performance here. And Danny DeVito is the Penguin. Danny DeVito was an amazing choice to play the Penguin. I even love what they do with the Penguin in this film, because he's not just another generic superhero villain. He's actually a tragic villain you feel sympathy for because he wants to find out the truth about his parents and be accepted among society. But after Batman exploits most of his evil plans, he pretty much returns to his villainous side and decides to carry on his villainous plans. And that really makes quite a great character, and I don't think anyone else is ever going to top his performance at all, or ever will. I do wish Cotton Farrell the best of luck, but Danny DeVito's shoes are going to be very hard to fill. Not only that, but Michelle Pfeiffer also made an excellent Catwoman. And the film's dark tone works pretty well, despite some bit of flaw in this little bit of the film I'm going to get to a bit, and manages to actually be even darker than The Dark Knight. And to me, this is the most violent Batman movie ever. This is probably the closest we'll ever get to a rated R Batman movie. The villains are even faithful to their source material. You even get a bonus villain that isn't in the comics called Max Schreck, played by Christopher Walken. And to me personally, while Penguin and Catwoman are Hamlin's kind of an antagonist or anti-hero in this film still, but still kind of somewhat evil. Penguin is technically kind of a bad guy, but to me personally, Max Schreck is the main antagonist of the movie. The actual one. Most of the time, Penguin was really just after the kids of Gotham and kind of wanted to know the truth about why he ended up in the sewers and what his parents were, and kind of really resorted to trying to kill Batman after he met Batman. And Catwoman only became Catwoman to get revenge on Max. So yeah, Max on the other hand, straight up wants to drown Gotham in toxic waste, and he's very corrupt. So yeah, Max Schreck is the real main antagonist of the movie. And the setting of Gotham City during wintertime is very well done as it stays faithful to the winter season. Not only that, but the idea of a darker toned Batman film taking place around Christmas time is very nifty. And Tim Burton returns as director, and his direction is sturdy as ever compared to its predecessor due to him getting more creative control from Warner Brothers. There's even some great quotes on the Penguin, such as the one I've already mentioned below at the beginning of this review. And others I'll take care of the squealing, wretched, pinhead puppets of Gotham. Or how about this? You gotta admit, I played the stinking city like a harp from hell. Just many other good quotes from him as well. Danny Elfman's amazing score is used again. His soundtrack is even darker, depressing, and maybe better than his soundtrack from the first film. And some great production design, especially Catwoman's apartment and the Penguin's lair. The Penguin's minions are very diverse as well. The Penguins depicted are a mix of animatronics, puppetry, actors in costumes, and even real ones. And the idea of bombs strapped to penguins around the very end of the movie during the climax is very interesting and creative. And despite its depressing atmosphere, it's still very appropriate to put it in there, and also because the movie doesn't really take itself too seriously. And the ending is very heartwarming to watch. Like, just after the penguin is killed, and when he dies, you get this beautiful scene where his pet penguins carry his dead body to the water as a little burial. And you're just wondering on why you're feeling so emotional over a villain that tried to kill so many kids in Gotham. But you all remember he was this tragic character that was neglected by his parents just for being all deformed and ugly and thrown into the sewers without having an actual childhood. As well, so you can still kind of feel bad for the guy. After that, Bruce finds a black cat from Catwoman, and he goes back to his car, showing it and it leaves kind of a hint that there's still some kind of good in Selina Kyle. While Selina Kyle has kind of chosen her path as like Catwoman and seemed to have died at the end, it's revealed that she actually survived and heck, she still has some kind of humanity in her. She's not entirely evil yet, and kind of left a good hint for a third movie. But the soccer moms had to ruin any chances of a third Tim Burton Batman movie, and say we got a shitty Joel Schumacher era. However, the reason why it's my third favorite is because of these bad boys. Well, the bad qualities for me for this one have to be, there was this little pothole, like just with this film called Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Batman never really clears his name, at least on screen by the end of the film, but he's still contacted through the bat signal. And its tone can be a bit rather inconsistent, like despite being considered one of the darkest and easily the #1 most violent Batman movie to date, there are still some campy Tim Burton moments that have like Batman fighting with Penguin's circus freak army who all act pretty goofy and silly. They dress pretty goofy and silly too, and Penguin's rocket launching penguins, even though that is a very clever idea, and Penguin drives around in a giant duck vehicle. But those might be intentional considering Tim Burton's trademark style and attempt to balance out the dark tone with some levity, although it's still kind of jarring, but it does kind of prevent the movie from being a little too depressing, and like Tim Burton also kind of has some campy moments in there, so there is that, but you don't want the movie to be too depressing, otherwise it wouldn't really be interesting to watch if you didn't have some campy moments in there. And plus, this is a 100% Tim Burton movie, so this one Tim Burton got to do whatever he wanted to do. And just like the previous film, the Arkham Asylum is still absent here, and it's never mentioned. Maybe whatever, but despite those, Batman Returns is still a phenomenal sequel nonetheless, and if you love the 1989 film and want to see a continuation of it, as well as see a film with the director Tim Burton finally gets to do whatever the fuck he wants to do, then definitely give this a watch, and then go add it to your DVD or Blu-ray shelf. And as for how I'm going to rank Batman Returns, here's how I'm going to rank Batman Returns. I'm going to give Batman Returns a 9 out of 10. And there we go. That's it for my review of Batman Returns. And unfortunately, because that's the end of my review for this movie, unfortunately it's going to be kind of the end of the good Batman era for 2 movies, because the next 2 movies I have to review is the garbage Joel Schumacher era next. Thanks to the Karens who whined about this movie being too dark, and they were clearly ones who don't know a thing about Batman at all. And I felt bad for Joel Schumacher, never got to make the Batman movies he wanted to do. But until then, that'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and if you like this and want to see more, then don't forget to like and subscribe to Movie Lover 120.